Start, sir.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's interesting webinar, presentation and chat with Mr. Krish Shankar, Global CHRO of Infosys Limited, and All India President of National Human Resource Development Network, NHRDN. I am Dr. Anil Paila, Senior Dean and Director at Welingkar Institute of Management, Bangalore campus, popularly known as Weschool. I bring greetings from our Group Director and past President of AIMS, Dr. 𝗬𝗰𝗲𝗂, a visionary in the management education space. And of course, greetings from all my colleagues, Weschool family in Mumbai, Bangalore, and Delhi. Weschool has a decade-long association with Infosys through our Junior Management Leadership Program, JMLP, which we conduct at Infosys offices across Pune, Jaipur, Chennai, and Bangalore. Weschool's executive education has poised itself for a long leap with new and contemporary programs and pedagogy, and would like to definitely recognize the MDP team for putting together today's webinar along with AIMS. Association of Indian Management Schools was established in 1988 and is officially representative of Indian management schools in the country. Now, this network body of 850 business schools with 15 chapters across India advocates for professional development of management education and safeguards the interests of these schools in the country. Interestingly, AIMS is one of the largest networking bodies of these schools in the world. I would like to profusely thank Dr. Sujata Mangaraj, President AIMS, for giving me an opportunity to host today's webinar. AIMS also runs a national test, ATMA, to support MBA aspirants across the country, recognized by NHRD. AIMS conducts its annual convention every year, and I'm thankful to Krish personally, and of course, Infosys leadership, Mr. Salil Parekh, Praveen Rao, and 𝗃𝗺𝗏𝗃 for hosting the 30th AIMS National Convention in 2018 for 3 days at Infosys campus in Bangalore. The academic community of around 1,000 participants across the country witnessed your world-class institution and your generosity and the engulfing seamlessly of industry academia partnership was very visible during this particular hosting of 30th AIMS National Convention. Today, we have in this gathering of webinar, Weschool leaders, deans, directors, senior faculty, members, startups, industry folks, and invitees who are eager to know what are the emerging workplaces and, of course, the new normal. Our students and faculty have put together many thoughts while we were deliberating on the new normal post-COVID 2019. Three things came very strongly going forward while imagining the new workplace, behavior required, and adaptation to technology. One, social distancing is going to be the way of life for quite some time now. Second is high amount of discipline required by everyone, managing each one's time, each one's resources, increasing productivity. And the third, enormous trust needs to be built in all levels, everywhere. Now, I deem it privilege and honor to introduce 𝗃𝗺𝗃𝗃 Krish Shankar. Krish is an Executive Vice President and Group Head of Human Resource Development at Infosys. In his role, he is responsible for envisioning the roadmap for HR, driving strategy, and implementing operational priorities aligned with the overall organizational mandate. Krish has over 30 years of experience and has led several global HR functions in organizations like Bharti Airtel, Hindustan Unilever, and Unilever. Prior to joining Infosys, Krish was head of HR for South Asia at Philips. In his wide-ranging experience in these organizations, Krish has held the transformation of HR into a strategic partner, facilitated organization-wide transformation and capability development, and was instrumental in building a strong talent pool through a series of leadership development initiatives. Krish holds a postgraduate diploma in HR from XLRI, Jamshedpur, and has received an executive certificate in strategy and organization from the Stanford Graduate School of Business. Krish has completed his PhD recently from Aston University, UK. Krish is an avid reader, loves wildlife photography and trekking, a football enthusiast. He occasionally runs half marathons. He's passionate about teaching and exploring new ideas in HR and organization development. Krish is based in Bangalore. I'm sure we are all eagerly waiting to listen to Krish on today's topic, emerging workplaces and the new normal. Krish shall deep dive into three key elements. One, reimagining future workplace, behaviors essential for success for future, and how digital will we be. Before I request Krish to take over from here, I request all of you, all the participants on this webinar, to identify the question sign on your screen and ask as many questions. I shall do my best to pose all the important and difficult questions to Krish. I hope, Krish, all set to go. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. First check, maybe someone can confirm if you can hear me so that I don't want to be talking, and I hope you can hear me, Anil. Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. So I think this is a topic that is on everyone's mind. You know, what's going to happen? You know, this is like one of those big events, and how is it going to change things? So there are lots of experts who are talking about it. You go to any channel, there'll be hundreds of people talking about what's going to happen. But do we all know? They're not sure. I think some of us are hitting our kind of, arrows in the dark. We're not sure what's going to happen. So again, I'm starting this with a caveat that there is no, I'm not kind of standing here pretending to be somebody who knows the future. I'm just trying to see what I've read and trying to kind of put something together. Yeah. So I think, before we start, I just thought it's very important to just look at this nice quote that Bill Gates has said, that sometimes we always either overestimate completely what could happen in the short run, but completely underestimate the changes that could happen in the long run. Yeah, so I think that's kind of a bias that we have. Yeah, we all have a recency bias. We've seen lots here. We've heard a lot. So we think things are going to change. I'm not sure. Some of it will change, some will not. But let's try and see what is it that will change. Okay, so let's move on, and I'll try and see if we can. So what I did is, before I kind of went, I said, yeah, listen, there's so many people talking. Let me go to somebody who's got some research behind it. So I went through some websites, and I went through the BCG website and some of the material they had. I think what they're now talking about is a new now, and I think in the people area they've listed about 7 or 8 broad things that are going to change. Yeah. One, I think they're saying work is going to get smarter. It's going to have remote work. You're going to have more technology within work, so work will become smarter. How we kind of allocate will become very important. Physical and mental health and its importance, I think, is key. And they're saying that there's going to be a new paradigm for skills and talent. So it's like it's going to change. Flexible workforce is going to become very big. And at the same time, they're saying the guys who will be successful, if you look at it, are going to be leaders with not only just thinking but also heart. Something who will put their hands together, roll up their sleeves, and be connected with people. A lot more purpose-driven organizations, yeah, and what they call as bionic, which is an organization where human and AI come together. So broadly, these are some changes that they're expecting over time. But if we just look at it, I think we are going through various phases. I think the first phase now is what we call as the first steps of recovery. Yeah, we are getting out of lockdown slowly. I think the next 2 months will be like baby steps coming out of the lockdown. Yeah, some industries are affected much more, some are not as affected, and some will take. And there are various theories that float around, right? There was one theory which says there's going to be a V-shaped kind of a thing. That means it's going to be a sharp drop, but quickly pick up within 3 months. Not so sure if it's going to be a V-shape. There's another theory which says it's going to be U-shape, so therefore it'll take a longer time, then it'll go up. Probably yes, it's like a U shape with a much more slower curve as you come out to recovery. And again, it'll vary from industry. Some industries will be hit very hard, like the hospitality industry, the travel industry. They may take some time to settle, but there are some others who may kind of quickly go up. So I think if you look at what is very clear is this is going to start making people think differently. Yeah, this period of 2 months or experimentation has given a lot of new thought to people. Some of these companies will take, some new products will come, the startup ecosystem will also think through it. So I think there will be some changes coming up in the next 1 or 2 years. Which of these stick, which of these will be embedded is something to be seen, but clearly this has brought forward a lot of thoughts. So what I'll do is really take you through some of the thoughts that are there so that we can catch up and really go through some of those. I think the first one is clearly I'm looking at a greater mix of remote come on-site work. Yeah, most companies will say, okay, how much can I get people to work outside? What kind of, so therefore it's going to be a lot more increased amount of people working remotely at home, etc. Sales, if you look at it, sales in India has been traditionally frontline, people going out in the field and doing. That may change, the amount of time that you go on the field may change differently. So I think they may also come up with a very new model, because that's going to be a complete new change in the way we approach stuff. Now, gig economy, this next 3 months is going to be tight because they're going to be under a lot of problem. But over time, I think this gig economy will increase. Yeah, so therefore, a lot more remote work. Most companies will see how can we have a model in which are people working from home or remotely. Anything varies between 20 to 50%. Yeah, some companies are saying 75%. I don't know. These are all thoughts in the thing, but yes, there'll be, but we have to plan it. Not all can be remote. There'll be a mix. Maybe, it's also good for people to come to work once a week or something. So you'll have to have a way in which you manage this whole thing. Adoption of various virtual collaboration tools will increase a lot. Yeah, and I think this whole phygital workplace will become a reality. So therefore you work through digital as well as physical coming together. I think the third one is businesses will become much more digital. They'll try and say, okay, how can we accelerate a digital kind of digitization within the company? How can many more things be done online? For example, during this lockdown, earlier we used to have onboarding, and onboarding has to be physically people coming, they'll be met, they'll sign something, they'll be given a laptop. Now, this 2 months, we've done a completely virtual onboarding. People come and join, they get everything, and they're just joining, and a courier gives them a laptop on the day. So I think it's changed. So I think we will also come up with various ways of saying, how can we create greater digitization in the business? And for employees, they'll also see much more complete digital experience. I think the last thing I believe in work is going to be, maybe there'll be new rules, new regulations that the government will come up with. Rules to do with work from home. What is work? What is home? In France and other places, if you send mails after 7 p.m., it's not taken very kindly there, and there are laws against it. So tomorrow, people, because at home you spend a lot more time. So there'll have to be some laws, some rules, I don't know what, but something will come up. Flexible rules, gig economy, what kind of rules are there? So I think I see a lot more regulations coming up, which will increase flexibility for business, greater kind of, on work from home for gig economy. So all these in the next 2 years, we'll see a big change in these areas. Now, quickly moving on to what kind of behaviors, if you were to say, if you look at the next, let's say 2 years, slow recovery, you'll have to really manage various pockets of turbulence that will be there and manage through this disruption. So there is huge disruption, but as you move away from the disruption, you have to do it carefully. So I think there'll be a lot of premium on empathy, because I think you got to take people along, listening, being compassionate with people will be very important. But this is also the time for some companies to take bold bets. They say, okay, what are the 1 or 2 things that are really going to be changing? So therefore, this is like an inflection point. And those leaders and those people who take those bets may have a stronger kind of wicket to bat on. Also, I think what's important for leaders at this time is a lot more clarity and focus, because at this time, when people are moving from a recovery and you're moving through a disruption, you cannot do 10 things. You got to focus on 3 or 4 things. And that focus is what is very important. And leaders who can get that focus over the next 2 years will be on the way to victory. And the last one is, this whole thing has created a much more focus on, can companies or leaders be more socially focused? what is your social impact, and therefore maybe I think this whole 360-degree view, maybe you look at all stakeholders, maybe all those may become law. I think that's something that leaders will have to be ready for, and we should also be looking at those. I think the last broad area I want to talk about is really looking at cultures and organization. So if you look at the culture within organization, maybe much more purpose driven, much more value. So those things will become more important for people. Employees and others will say, the society will say, what is your social impact? What are you doing also in addition to making profits? What are you doing for the economy, for the world, for the society? And cultures, if you look at the next 2-3 years, cultures that are compassionate, agile, and showing resilience will be ones that will really win. And as you extend to organization structures, I think most organizations will say, okay, how can I keep it people light? Use gig workers, use work from home, use temporary workers, keep my own people little light. Also less of assets. So therefore now I don't need so many buildings. Maybe I can really, work, reduce that. So asset light will become a mantra. I think with people, doing much more better way of collaborating, some of the layers may come down. Layers will have to add value. So aggregator layers will go away. The span of control for managers will increase. So I think those will become much more of a reality as we go forward. So therefore, if you were to look at it, I think we will see probably a more human, a much more virtual, at the same time, much more digitally wired organization, more digital in the way they reach out to customers and digital within. But at the same time, they've got to be more purpose-driven. So I think this, in a way, to me, kind of puts the whole thing together in terms of what kind of organization will be. But as I said, this is not going to be easy. And not all this is going to happen. Nobody knows. Some things may, some may not. There are many factors at play here. I think the health, how the virus takes shape, what kind of vaccines we have, how's the economy, how's the world shaping up. Some industries will pick up fast, some will take longer, and some new industries will come. And therefore, this is going to be in a way a critical couple of years period. So after and this is clearly a period of disruption. Organizations can take this inflection point and grow, same as individuals. Individuals will also learn from it and grow and become very different. So I think that's what I would say. At this point, let's focus on the recovery. I think it's important to focus on giving confidence to employees, ensuring their health and safety. I think those two are very important. Once you ensure their health and safety and giving them confidence, we have to ensure that they also change their behaviors in sense that managing more, managing all the social distancing, hygiene, keeping distance, keeping cues, planning for things in advance. So all of it, you can't have last minute and say, I want to do it now, because that's not going to happen very easily. So I think a lot of behavior change will also have to come. And I think that's what we need to really work with in the next couple of months. So thank you. I just thought that's a quick overview of what I think, and maybe we'll take some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Krish. In fact, excellent presentation, very crisp as you are always. And we have a couple of questions which are popping up. In fact, I have a few questions which I would like to shoot at you. One question comes to my mind. You did mention that remote site work will increase. So work from home, if that is the question, and that is what everybody is speaking about. And when we are used to work from home in the past few days, and we still continue to, how prepared are the companies? One, and what are the new initiatives taken to secure information, provide IT infrastructure, connectivity, using of platforms we did mention? While working from home, are these new initiatives, are these all secured? And TCS declared that 75% of the workforce will work from home by 2025, and that's a big dynamic step. Is this really going to be the new norm, Krish?
No, as I mentioned, I don't know. Whether it's going to be 75 or lesser, I don't think we can conclude that easily. See, there are pros and cons. If you look at the current thing of work from home, there is equally some amount of stress for people working from home. women with children who have to manage many things. It's tough. Even for people, men who are there with, young in PGs, sitting in PGs and working with a couple of batchmates, it's not very easy for them. They're working out of a bed, etc. So therefore, I think there is some amount of, and then the work hours get longer. So those are some of the negatives of work from home. Equally, there are some positives. In our case, I think we found that people with our offshore teams, people are able to work quite better, in terms of connecting and talking, because they are able to spend more time. So reducing commuting time and doing that. So therefore, we'll have to manage both. Equally, it's not that you can just sit at home right through. You also need to come meet people. You have to need to feel connected. So therefore, there will have to be some amount of, there is a benefit of some amount of meetings, physical meetings once in a way. So I think we'll have to test this out. Yeah, I cannot completely say that work from home is going to be the norm. It'll be unfair. We have to prove it, see it. It's going to work in some cases it will not work. But a blended one will work. Maybe you do a lot more work from home, but you spend some little time talking to people, coming to key things, those kind of things. So I think we'll have to get the mix of what I'd call a more blended work, a physical, digital, remote. So the phygital kind of work that will be there. So I think companies have done a lot of things to secure all of this. I think from our case, we sent out desktops, they got network adapters, control software in terms for security, and all those have been enhanced. And we'll have to continue to do all of those. And technology, I think, will also grow in the next year or two. You'll see a lot more. You see, like Microsoft Teams and WebEx and others, Zoom are doing very well. They'll come up with new innovations. And I think that will make things better. So just to summarize, is work from home going to increase? Yes. Is it going to be 100% or 75%? I don't know. And it will vary from industry to industry, from teams to teams. And we'll have to see how it goes. What are the other enabling features in the next six months to a year?
Yes. Yes, Krish, thank you. Krish, going forward, lifelong learning, upskilling, reskilling was the mantra of corporations until yesterday. And I'm sure it will be in the new normal too. But what, to your mind, would be those key new skills required to be up the game in the new normal?
I think I've mentioned basically, firstly, I think this is a period of a lot of uncertainty, ambiguity. So people have to live through that. So key thing now is resilience, ability to kind of, stick with it, be showing a lot more patience and a lot more fight. And that's number one. Number two, that you'll also have to see is agility. Sometimes you'll have to quickly make some decisions. So that's another thing. But this is also a period of disruption or inflection. So therefore, people have to be adaptable, flexible to learn new things and pivot. Yeah. So therefore, premium on learning, premium on going to something new, which they think. Yeah. So those will all be important now. And I think for leaders, it's all about being much more connected, showing more empathy. So I think if you were to look at it, for all employees, for everybody, I think clearly the focus will be much more on learning, agility, resilience. I think these three will be very, very important. And for leaders and others, when managing teams, showing more compassion, empathy, etc., will be very critical as they lead their teams.
Yes, Krish. Krish, you mentioned about phygital, and very clearly we understand that a lot of behavioral changes will have to be adopted. Organization behavior was dependent on organization hierarchy, interfaces, responses, right? Indulging personally. Now, going forward with increasing technology interface and engagement with machines, how do you see behavioral changes amongst employees?
So I think, again, I would look at this behavioral change in a kind of a step. The first, let's say the next 3 months, is got to be a behavior change where I think people have to do a couple of things. One is show more patience, plan more in advance. You cannot have things at the last minute. Be more disciplined in terms of social distancing, hygiene, etc. And be more compassionate, be more understanding of others. So I think these are the 4 things that we need people to do. Yeah, some of these have to be new habits, washing hands, keeping the distance, and all of that. So I think slowly people will pick up. I think that's there. I think as we kind of stabilize, I mean, in a way, if you look at, for example, some of the behaviors that a culture like Japanese have, we'll have to start planning some of those and seeing how can we embed those culture a little more relaxed, more patient, more understanding, plan things in advance, be disciplined, take care of yourself. So that's going to be important. Then I think that's, as we go forward, I think the recovery will pick up, a lot of new things will come. And that's where I think behaviors which have to do with learning, being more agile, showing resilience, all of those will be very important as we go forward.
Yes, Krish. Krish, you have been a student in the past, also recently completed your PhD. You must have revisited your college again. It's always nice and nostalgic to go back to school. So I have a question from the current batch of management students, and they would like to know how they should prepare themselves for the new corporate avatar.
Well, the new batch of these are people joining now or just passing out now?
Passing out now.
Passing out now. Okay. So I think passing out now are in a kind of, let's say, they're entering a tough economy. Yeah, where I think companies will be trying to do the recovery. They'll be trying to see how to pivot and move into a new strategy. They'll be trying to reduce cost and cut down costs. So they'll be at the heart of all of this. Equally, this is a learning, because I think when you go through any of these tough periods of downturns, then I think, it's like, there is this traditional, when you look at this whole, the old days when we're talking about Kaizen and stuff like that. There used to be a nice story said that, listen, there is this water which is covering a lot of inefficiencies there, and the ship is sailing on the water. As soon as the water goes down, then I think the ship starts seeing many things. It starts seeing the different rocks and debris and others, and then it has to sail. Then it has to be much more careful. So this is what this period does. This period brings more challenges. It puts all the inefficiencies up in the open, and therefore they'll have to do that. So what I would tell the young people who are passing out is, number one, firstly, be ready for a tough 6 months to a year, as industries recover. Number two, I think this is a time for patience. You've got to stick with it, and be patient and show what they call as resilience. Resilience is what? Resilience is taking in what is happening, seeing how you can really kind of overcome it and move forward. That's what it is. I think the third one is learn. I think see what you can learn from these situations. There'll be lots to learn about how companies are communicating. There'll be lots to learn about how companies are working in a crisis. How are they managing costs? What kind of things they're doing? So I think, and this will give you some valuable experience. So I think there's also a time to catch some wonderful experience, which will help you in the long run. Thank you.
Yes, Krish. I think very, very well said. In fact, this is testing time, and I'm sure they'll have to get to the situation going forward. Krish, one more question is about COVID-19 has come up with high order of disruption. I think all of us agree. What capacity building would emerge for dealing with such high intensity disruption? When I'm saying this, in fact, one of my friends recently commented that Industry 4.0, Education 4.0 will no longer continue to go on till 5.0 and so on, because it has to be relooked with a new perspective, a totally new perspective. So what do you think this X.0 looks like?
This is like a big question. I'm not sure how I can answer that. Okay. See, I think there are many factors. I think all I can say is that this one is going to be, while there's so much earlier itself, we were saying Industry 4.0, where Industry 4.0 was lots of new technologies coming and changing, right? Now we are saying, while that is there, we are in a new environment. where there's got to be social distancing, where there's got to be this careful work thing. You're not going to be working closely with people. You have to work lots more remotely. At the same time, some new technologies will come in. New technologies which are going to come in, which are going to fast track some of this. So this is going to be like a 4.0 kind of magnified, but this disruption level will continue. All that is added is there's one or two more vectors of disruption that's been added. Earlier, it's all about technology thing. Now it's all about the virus. It's about social distancing. It's about virtual working. So these are all the elements that are there. We'll have to kind of go through it. But you know what? I think people are very adaptable. You've seen this, that over the years, people have been adapting. There'll be lots of new ideas that will come up. People will come up with phenomenal things. Some new work models will come in. Business models will come in. People will innovate. So this is, again, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So this will also create lots of new things. So again, if people hit upon the right idea, this is a great time for them to do a startup and stuff like that. So tough to say, but I think, yeah, it's becoming even more dynamic and disruptive. Thanks.
Yes, Krish. Krish, you spoke about gig employees, and do you think that the future workplace will promote gig employees compared to the conventional employment? And what could be the challenges of retention of your key performers?
So gig is taken in a very broad sense, right? Yes. From an Uber driver to kind of a guy who's delivering the Swiggy stuff to kind of somebody who's like a trainer who comes and does something. So it's like a wide thing. Everybody's painted as gig. Yeah. So I think we got to be careful in saying there may be different bits there. What I think is with remote working now becoming a way of life, some people will be more comfortable with having somebody work from home for 3 days a week as a gig worker. Yeah. So therefore, some of your staff functions, some of your things can be now given to gig people. So I think that area, gig working, will increase. Yeah. Sometimes some companies may not like to keep all their supply chain out to somebody else. So they may be worried, saying, listen, if I'm not in control of my own supply chain, I don't know what's going to happen. So you may also find there are some companies insourcing some parts. So at the manufacturing side, there may be some areas saying, okay, I don't mind. I've seen disruptions, so I want to ensure the supply chain works better. So they may try and insource some. So there'll be various things there. So next 3 months will be tough for gig workers, but I think for the people who are traditionally been inside the company working as part of the company, this is a good opportunity for them to be more like a freelancer and gig worker. So that's a possibility I see, which will continue.
I also was talking about how the entire workplace when it gets to post-COVID or during this time, how would it affect the high performance?
How did it affect the high performance?
High performers, yeah.
I don't think so. I think frankly, I think people have really gone up. They've taken all of them have taken a greater role. They've jumped up to the challenge, and I've seen this all across. So people have really, been they've gone out of the way to do work, and that's because things are bringing lots more people together. They feel it's a common cause. So I think all across, I've seen people going out of the way and doing it. I don't know if there's anything I can kind of signal out of high performers. High performers are ones who have been showing initiative always and doing the extra bit. So maybe they've done a lot more, but I'm not kind of, I don't have anything conclusive to say from this 1 month. But I've seen all kinds of employees who've gone out of the way and done a phenomenal amount of work in this period.
Very true, Krish. In fact, a lot of people have been adapting to the change. They are taking up new challenges for themselves, and of course, that will create more and more performers than talking about the high performers. Krish, a recent past AICTE, the regulatory body, as you know, has been promoting B schools and the technical institutions to set up incubators, accelerators, and promote startups in business schools. It has been conducting various webinars, constant, challenging the students for hackathons, etc. So how do you see intrapreneurship shaping up in organizations going forward, and how can we leverage a new set of talent coming from B School?
See, I think this intrapreneurship, I'm not sure. I think, it's like a, I think this is also, I would say, put it in two ways. This is a great opportunity for people to find new ideas and do something. Yeah, because there will be new options, new ideas coming. So maybe some of them will be based on the current needs, or it'll be a great thing. So maybe the business schools can encourage people to become entrepreneurs and take up new ideas and do it. Within organizations, I think that organizations are already doing, I think at this time, organizations will need people who are showing initiative, who you call as entrepreneurs, people who are showing initiative, who are coming up with the business thing and driving it. So I think it'll be, so from a business school end, what can you do? I think you can ensure that provide them the opportunity for them to think through a full business plan, through how they can build capabilities for them to really go take the initiative and run a business on their own. That can apply even outside or within the company. Within the company, I think it's about, there may be some companies who say, listen, I'm not looking for new business. I want to really stabilize. I want to get more focus. So therefore, it's not about tens of guys trying to do different things, but more people trying to do in the same direction, but coming up with more innovative ways of doing those things. So that's what will be needed as entrepreneurs in organizations.
I agree, Krish. Krish, in fact, there are a lot of questions. I will get to one question which comes from Sudarshan. You talked about recovery in V or U shape. Do you think it will be Nike swoosh shape?
What shape? Nike shoes.
Nike swoosh.
Probably, yeah. I think the recovery will take a bit longer. Again, it will vary for some industries. So the Nike swoosh is probably the ideal thing, for some industries.
Yeah, Krish. A recent study, this has come from Nandesh. He says a recent study indicates about 70% of startups are in deep crisis and can't sustain beyond 3 or 6 months. How should they cope up? Your tips, if any.
Yeah, it's very tough. I don't know what can I tell them. But I think, see, there are two ways. They are in a crisis because they've not been able to get revenues, because their business model had, things which were not. But I think slowly the economy will open up and that will come back. Also, this is a time they'll have to think where they're so reliant on a particular source of revenue or a particular channel that they've been having this. So this will help them think differently. If they are so focused on only one channel, this helps them think omni-channel, different customers, different markets, and widen what they can do. So those are the kind of things that startups will have to think now, use this period to really, come up with some new ideas. I think to manage there, I think that's where if they're convinced about their idea and they think it is God thing, this is like a blip. They're going to live with it, ensure that they get some funds or funding from whoever can help them. And once they've seen through these 3 months, I think things should pick up, as the economy picks up. But again, it's a time for many of them to really review their business models, see what it is, how resilient their model is, and is it too dependent on one customer segment or one channel, and maybe those are the areas they'll have to work on.
Absolutely. In fact, Krish, there is a question from Anuradha. Collaboration as a method is yet to penetrate at workplaces. How will organizations train their leaders?
No new rocket science, this one has to be the same way. See, I would not say collaboration is not penetrated workplaces. I think people see organizations are growing and they're doing well. And without collaboration, they can't be growing. Yeah, so they've been generally working with collaboration. I think we've seen that. What is going to be needed is much more. And there are two new dimensions, much more virtual collaboration and much more collaboration beyond your organization. So how do you collaborate with various other organizations? So these are the two areas. Collaboration in the larger ecosystem and much more virtual. So those are the two areas we've got to start building. And the training leaders would be, yes, I think it's about slowly talking about the behaviors that are needed, helping them understand what behaviors are needed and coaching and training them. Some training programs, but that'll help, but more on the job, coaching them, and also recognizing the people who are doing it. And, those are the big ones to really ensure that people start showing and building this new habit.
Great. There's one question from Piyush who is asking, in future, it seems personal interaction and physical meeting will be reduced to a large extent. Will this be healthy for the social fabric? And the second question, he says, how important will cross-cultural sensitivity be in the digital workplace?
I think, firstly, yes, physical meetings are important. Less of that is going to be tough. So that's how people are now, like we're doing this virtual physical meeting. We can all not be in one place, but at least we're trying to be in a virtual way and doing it. People will have to do a lot more of that. People will speak on the phone a lot more. So maybe you will have to do that, because I think people are, as I say, men are social animals. So we have to be with others, and that's important to us. I think, again, this is not that it's permanently going to go down. This is like a forced kind of a thing that we're going to go through for a 6 months period, and hopefully things will change after that. And that's how we are finding digital ways to do that physical meeting. But you're right, physical friendships and social relationships are one of the key things for people's happiness and well-being. Yeah. If you're not doing physically, then I think you have to still keep those relationships through some other way, through digitally, etc. So I think it's going to be important. If it's not there, it's going to be bad for the well-being of people, but we'll have to see how to really manage that. And that's where we have to take extra care in this area. This cross-cultural thing in virtual, yes, I think cross-cultural thing works everywhere, even physically and virtual. And in virtual, you do much more. You have to be much more cognizant of that. See, when you are meeting somebody face to face, you're getting many more clues about that person. You get to see his body language. You can see, yeah, Anil is sitting there. He's kind of doing something, so you can get some message from his body language. You can also get so that gives you a lot of clue. Your brain is automatically processing it. You also get clues from his facial expressions. Yeah, you say, oh, how's he thinking? Is he smiling? Is he kind of thinking? Is angry? That also gives you clue for you to really say how you want to talk. Now, in a virtual thing, both these clues are cut out for you. The only clue you get is probably his voice, and maybe sometimes you get to see his picture, and that picture's again got a lot of latency, right? So therefore, of the clues that you use, which is basically voice, facial clues, and body language, at least two of them are not that easy. So it's only with the voice and voice modulation you have to try to make things out. And therefore, people have to get more sensitive. They'll have to try spend more time, get to know the person first, and then get to in various meetings. So I think, always people said, if people, there was one research that a professor of Stanford did recently, just about a week back, he published on, in the sense that he found a difference in people who started off as students in a physical world and then moved to digital versus those who came completely digital from the beginning. And he felt that being physical first has made them at least get to know each other, get to know the professors. And I think their movement to a more digital workplace has been better. So they're able to ask questions, etc. The ones who come in from the beginning digital, they've not been as kind of, so there are some gaps there. So yes, so you have to get more clues, get to know people. If you can't meet them physically, I think talk to them, do some video chats, get to understand them so that you can do your relationship better. So I think we got to work a little more harder, think a little more about how to make those relationships work while you're doing these cross-cultural discussions.
Great, Krish. In fact, you're talking about a digital observation, voice, facial, body, language, etc. And of course, ask them to add some emojis, in case we are not taking it right. And of course, social indulgence will be definitely an issue. We're all talking about social distancing, and social indulgence will definitely have some more time to go. Thank you, Krish. Krish, there is one more question which I would like to ask. You agree that COVID-19 pandemic has brought in enormous uncertainty to the future. In this context, how do you see the shift in risk landscape? And what would you or recommend to build a leadership dashboard to deal with the new normal?
See, I think there are two things that are there. Let me try and give some yarn. So there are some things called, there is uncertainty and there is risk. Now, what is uncertainty? Uncertainty are about things that you don't know. Yeah. So therefore there is, you don't know what's going to happen. So a lot of unknowns are there. Risk is more about things that are known, and you say, okay, I know this is going to be a problem, then you start planning it. Yeah. So therefore there is thing. Now in this world, when you're talking of VUCA, this is like uncertainty. Yeah. So there are many areas you don't know what to plan for. So I think that you got to be understanding that you can't manage risk in areas that you completely know. But where you know, saying these are some issues, then you can start planning for those things. Now, what is the leader's dashboard? I think has to clearly identify the various risks. I think the first thing should be the health and well-being of employees. That should be the biggest one. So I think they've got to say, what can we do to really manage that? Giving them confidence to work and work in the organization. How can we create safe and healthy workplaces for people to come and work? So those two are very important areas, clear risks, and we have to ensure there is a dashboard that you can manage them. The third area is, yeah, if there are a lot of people working remotely, how do we engage them? How do we, so you can, so therefore what you have to do is you put your risks. There are some business risks, yes. My sales guys are not going. What can I do? So therefore, you identify some risks. You say what are the mitigation factors and do that. And I think each of the business can decide what are the top risks and look. But again, just to clarify, there is this whole uncertainty. Yeah, things you don't even know about. Very difficult to manage. You don't know whether there's going to be a vaccine or not. You don't know whether, so those areas are tough. And therefore, just keep this distinction, but manage for the ones that you're clear that you're going to be facing in your businesses.
Sure, Krish. Yeah. Krish, one more question comes in from, I believe this must be from the placement community. What are the challenges in new recruitment? Do you see a slowdown in hiring numbers in campus?
Well, it could vary. Again, I can't say it will vary from industry to industry. There are some industries they may be hiring. There are some industries which may be going through a slack time. Yeah. So therefore, this is the next 3 months. I think companies will try to first get a hang of what is happening and they plan their own recovery. So I think the next 3 months may be a lot more about, let's not do anything new. Let's ensure things are working, etc., etc. So I think after those 3-4 months, I think things should pick up. But yes, I can understand this is going to be a tough time. The number of jobs that were there earlier may not be there for the students. Some of the businesses are kind of almost not working. They're not getting a single revenue. Look at airlines, hotels. They're like no revenue. I mean, they're not now thinking of doing anything new. So they're trying to at this point recover, cut costs, manage. That's what they're going to do. So it's going to be tough. But these are, again, but equally there'll be some others who are growing. Maybe the e-commerce, they're growing. Maybe they need more people. I was speaking to the CEO of BigBasket. He says, yeah, I need more people to come and work with us. So I think there are some that are growing. But I think over the next 3 to 6 months, we should be much more clearer how things are going to be looking at.
Sure, Krish. Krish, one more question. How do you see learning and development shaping up? I mean, is there anything as a new pedagogy you want to recommend? What is the new normal?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So I think there will be, online learning is going to grow in a big way, right? People will say, why should I come and attend a Weschool class? Why don't I do online? So therefore, a lot more guys will be keen on online. But I think therefore the pedagogy should be suited for that. You can have some, I think clearly a mix of getting people to do a lot more self-study. is important. But once that self-study is there, a lot more of what you call getting people to write essays, getting people to write, do some kind of regular tests and stuff like that to ensure that they are actually doing something is going to be very important. I think we'll have to now trust people a lot more.
Exactly.
Trust them to study on their own, but ensure that they are studying by doing regular kind of coaching sessions. Maybe, I think give them a lot more self-study, but a small group of 20 people where you discuss, where you really 20 or even 10. That is very important because you got to ensure that people are understanding, they're applying things. So those kind of models will have to come in a lot more. But this is going to be a big area, a lot of disruption, a lot of new ideas will come in. And I think the whole, the education industry or the B school thing can really use this online learning in a very big way.
Yeah, Krish. What are some innovative practices HR practitioners have implemented in their organizations post-COVID? I think a bit of repeat, but
yeah, I think most people have done the same thing. Firstly, safety, ensuring social distancing, enabling people to work from home through infra and all that. A lot of remote engagement, a lot of people talking. In a way, we've created a virtual engagement calendar and activity. So a lot of remote engagement, town halls, remote VCs, chats, all of that has been done. So I think enabling people policies on work from home, health, ensuring well-being and health, a lot of focus on that. So I think these have all been what companies have been doing.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Krish. It has been great. Yeah, we have a few more questions coming in. I would like to just get to one question, which as NHRD president, you initiated one of the surveys recently, and on HR responses to COVID. Would you like to throw some light on that?
I think there are, unfortunately, I don't have all the results. We're just putting it all as a report. I think there are some very interesting things coming up in terms of what are some of the things that companies are doing. I think every company has taken what are the HR priorities that are coming up is also coming out very clearly. I think one of the big 2-3 areas is sales, revenue, costs are very important for businesses in terms of business priorities. At the same time, I think from the HR end, I think C&B is also becoming a very big priority for many companies. So these are some of the new trends we are seeing. Hopefully we'll have that report soon, and maybe we can share it with you once we have it.
Great, Krish. In fact, Krish, any final remarks before we conclude?
No, thank you. I think I hope it was useful. I just thought I'll give you my views. As I said, this is, I'm not an expert. We don't know. Uncertainty means we can all guess. We don't know enough, but hopefully we'll be able to move through this recovery phase into the growth phase very soon. Thank you and all the best.
Yeah. Thanks, Krish. It has been wonderful chatting with you on various aspects of today's topic on workplace of the future. Very clearly, the new normal, which you elaborated very well. I'd like to conclude by thanking you, Krish, for this wonderful session. Your passion towards connecting with academia is very evident from your continuous association and your association in particular with Weschool as well. Your insights about emerging workplace and the new normal is definitely going to sow seeds in the minds of today's participants. And I should reiterate your influencing thoughts on resilience, agility. One has to really ponder and work upon. Your focus on reimagining work from home, behaviors like empathy, bold bets, social focus, and of course, you will give us more insights on the HR responses to COVID. And I'm thankful to you for this particular very interesting, very practical thoughts of yours. You're very frank in saying, let's wait and watch, a lot to unfold, and we all have to prepare to this new normal. Big thank you on behalf of Association of Indian Management Schools and Weschool in particular for accepting our invitation and giving us your insightful thoughts as well. Special thanks to all the participants who have been here today. In fact, You have been questioning continuously. There are some more questions which have come. However, let me see if Krish can take that. But thanks to you, participants, for raising these pertinent questions, and Krish to answer each one of them in a very super professional way, I can say. I thank the team of AIMS at Hyderabad and Pune office for managing the backend, IT support, etc. And special thanks to Weschool MDC team for coordinating with AIMS and of course for the corporate registrations. Please do visit webinars of AIMS and Weschool which are forthcoming, and we'll keep inviting you continuously. The last question, Krish, if you would like to take this is come. Okay, and then we conclude. With global value chains getting disrupted, will the movement towards AI, ML, IoT accelerate? Dr. 𝗘𝗺𝗲𝗿𝗁 from 𝗃𝗺𝗃𝗃.
With the so the question was with
the global value chains getting disrupted, will the movement towards AI, ML, IoT accelerate?
Definitely.
Sure, yeah. Yep.
I think the 2 or 3 things will happen. I think some essential things, organizations will say, I want to secure my supply chain, and so therefore they will try, and countries will try and strengthen some of those. So that'll happen, and therefore there will be a lot more focus on IoT. Definitely, a lot more use of everything that digital can do. Will be there. I think people will have 3 objectives now. Number 1, to say, how can I run this as digitally possible with least physical touch? Number 2, how can I ensure and protect myself against disruption in the future? So they'll try and protect that. And number 3, how can I safeguard my business for the future in terms of ensuring that I'm not too dependent on one channel or one supplier? So they would like to do that. So all those will happen. And the use of technology will be quite accelerated. I think in the next 2 years, we'll see lots more of that.
Great, Krish. Thanks. In fact,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Krish. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. All the best.
Yeah. In fact, COVID has witnessed enormous amount of time being spent on discipline and trusting employees going forward. And the administration will have to spend a lot of hours to ensure all the new norms are followed with great care. As administrators of business schools, the deans, directors, the owners of business schools, I'm sure going forward, the behavioral changes will envisage a lot of changes amongst our students, our faculty, our own vendors, because a lot of us will be spending a lot of time in long queues and social distancing. This is definitely going to unfold once the lockdown is over. And I'm sure all of you are preparing for the new normal. So good luck to all of you. Thank you for your valuable time. Stay safe, stay home, and good luck to all of you. Thank you so much.